Sri Aurobindo Savitri, thou has come down into a struggling world to aid a blind and suffering mortal race, to open to light the eyes that could not see, to bring down bliss into the heart of grief, to make thy life a bridge twixt earth and heaven. From Sri Aurobindo Savitri. Words of our Divine Mother from the Collective Works of our Divine Mother, Volume 14, page 288. Topic: Guidance to the youngsters about friends. Our Divine Mother says, someone has asked me a question on something I need to speak. Pavitra, do you have it? Read it. And then Pavitra reads, Sweet Mother, our best friend is he who loves us in the best of ourselves and yet does not ask us to be other than we are. For this, her Divine Mother says, I am asked to explain what this means. I have a good mind to tell you all sorts of paradoxical things, but still. Anyway, I wrote this something in mind which one usually forgets. One asks one's friends and those around one to be not what they are, but what one would like them to be. One can form an ideal for oneself and want to apply it to everybody. But this reminds me of Tolstoy's son, whom I met in Japan and who was going around the world in the hope of bringing about unity among men. His intentions were excellent, but his way of doing it seemed less happy. He said with imperturbable seriousness that if everybody spoke the same language, if everybody dressed in the same way, ate in the same way, and behaved in the same way, that would inevitably bring about unity. And when asked how he planned to realize this, he said it would be enough to go from land to land preaching a new and universal language, a new but universal dress, a new but universal habits. That was all, and that was what he intended to do. And our Divine Mother laughs and says, well, everyone in his own little field is like that. He has an ideal conception of what is true and beautiful and noble and even divine, and this conception of his he wants to impose on others. There are also many people who have a conception of the divine and who try with all their might to impose their conception on the divine and usually do not lose heart until they have lost their life. Our Divine Mother says when one has opinions about people, especially reactions to their way of life, it is because one blames them for not being what one thinks they ought to be. If we never forget that there cannot be and should not be two things exactly alike in the universe, for the second would be useless since there would already be one of the same kind, and that the universe is constituted for the harmony of an infinite multiplicity in which two moments and even more, two consciousnesses are never alike, then what right have we to intervene and want that somebody should conform to our own thought? Our Divine Mother says, for if you think in a particular way, it is certain that the other won't be able to think in the same way. And if you are a person of a certain type, it is absolutely certain that the other cannot be of the same type. And what you ought to learn is to harmonize, synthesize, combine all the disparate things in the universe by putting each one in its place. Total harmony does not at all lie in an identity, but in an harmonization which can only come by putting each thing in its place. Our Divine Mother says, and this must be the basis of the reaction that one has the right to expect from a true friend who should wish not that his friend should be like him, but that he may be what he is.
For the release of soul, asleep in objects, vague, inanimate.
Our Divine Mother says, now, at the beginning of the sentence, I said, He loves you in the best part of yourself. To put it a little more positively, your friend is not one who encourages you to come down to your lowest level, encourages you to do foolish things along with him, or fall into bad ways with him, or one who commends you for all the nasty things you do. That's quite clear. And yet, usually, very often, very often, much too often, one makes friends with somebody with whom one does not feel uneasy when one has sunk lower. One considers as one's best friend somebody who encourages one in one's follies. One mixes with others to roam about instead of going to school, to go and steal fruit from the gardens, or to make fun of one's teachers, and for all kinds of things like that. And perhaps this is why I said they are not your true friends, but still they are the most convenient friends, for they do not make you feel that you are in the wrong, while to one who comes and tells you, now then, instead of roaming about and doing nothing or doing stupid things, if you came to the class, don't you think it would be better? Usually one replies, don't bother me, you are not my friend. A Divine Mother says, there are children here who were full of promise, who were at the top of their class, who used to work seriously, from whom I expected much, and who have been completely ruined by this kind of friendship. Since we are speaking of this, I shall tell them one day, I shall tell them instead today, that I regret this very much, and that I do not call such people friends but mortal enemies, against whom one should protect oneself as one would against a contagious disease. Our Divine Mother says, we don't like the company of someone who has a contagious disease, right? And avoid him carefully. Generally, he is segregated so that it does not spread. But the contagion of vice and bad behavior, the contagion of depravity, falsehood, and what is base is infinitely more dangerous than the contagion of any disease, and this is what must be very carefully avoided. You must consider as your best friend the one who tells you that he does not wish to participate in any bad or ugly act, the one who gives you courage to resist low temptations. He is a friend, a good friend. He is the one you must associate with, and not with someone with whom you have fun and that strengthens your evil propensities. That's all. Indeed, you should choose as friends only those who are wiser than yourself, those whose company enables you and helps you to master yourself, to progress and act in a better way and see more clearly. And finally, the best friend one can have, isn't he the divine, to whom one can say everything, reveal everything? Our Divine Mother says, for there indeed is the source of all compassion, of all power to efface every error when it is not repeated.
From her bright, magnificent plane, on the rigid coil and sprawl of mortal space. Here too, the gracious, great winged angel poured her splendor and her sweetness and her bliss, hoping to fill a fair new world with joy.
Our Divine Mother says, for there indeed is the source of all compassion, of all power to efface every error when it is not repeated. to open the door to true realization. It is He who can understand all, heal all, and always help on the path. Help you not to fail, not to falter, not to fall, but to walk straight to the goal. He is the true friend, friend of the good and bad days, the one who can understand and heal, and who is always there when you need Him. When you call Him sincerely, He is always there to guide and uphold you and to love you in the true way. These are taken from the collective works of our Divine Mother, Volume 9, page 54. In 1961, there is a subnote here. In 1961, when this talk was first published, our Divine Mother commented on this phrase, so long as one repeats one's mistakes, nothing can be abolished, for one recreates them every minute. When someone makes a mistake, serious or not, this mistake has consequences in his life, a karma which must be exhausted. But the divine grace, if one turns to it, has the power of cutting off the consequences, but for this, the fault must not be repeated. One should not think one can continue to commit the same stupidities indefinitely, and that indefinitely the grace will cancel all the consequences. It does not happen like that. The past may be completely purified, cleansed to the point of having no effect on the future, but on condition that one does not change it again into a perpetual present. You yourself must stop the bad vibration in yourself. You must not go on reproducing the same bad vibration indefinitely. These are the words of our Divine Mother. 24th November 1926, the day of victory. Sri Aurobindo's explanation. Sri Aurobindo says 24th November 1926 was the descent of Lord Krishna into the physical. Krishna is not the supramental light. The descent of Krishna would mean the descent of the overmind Godhead, preparing, though not itself actually bringing, the descent of supermind and Ananda. Krishna is the Anandamaya. He supports the evolution through the overmind, leading it towards to Ananda.
Was on its way before her gifts could reach our prisoned hearts. A dark, ambiguous presence questioned all.